Before you enter in the water for the first time, the more prepared you are, the better, because you will see that there are so many things you need to deal with at the same time that it usually gets a little bit overwhelming. So in this video I'm going to mention all the things you need to know, but some of them will be covered in full details in separate videos, which you will find in the description under the heading linked videos. So let's just get to it. Ready, go.
Everybody just get on down.
Let's start with the few things that are absolutely essential to know. They are gear advice for beginners, spot safety, and how to enter and exit the water safely. If you are with a teacher, he'll be able to cue you up on these or might simply take care of them without you even knowing it. But this information is the foundation for your peace of mind, and wing foilers need to know what they're doing, so make sure you're prepared on these topics. Also, for your first rides, you should get some knee pads. This is the most underrated advice ever. Even if you're using a thick wetsuit, put knee pads on top of it. They'll make riding on your knees a little bit more comfortable, which is a great advantage to stack up more practice time. Then, we need to mention one topic of debate between two different schools of thought. Should you learn with straps or strapless? Both options are valid, but the rule of thumb is the bigger the board you use, the less I advise straps. And since at the very beginning it's better to use a big board, the tendency should be towards riding strapless. Although you could also set yourself to learn with straps, and for a full discussion about learning with straps or not, you will find the video in description. Now, enough with preparation stuff, and let's move to the action in the water. As you enter and prepare yourself to sail, there are quite a few things to know, and I have a dedicated video for each one of these. The first video is dealing with leashes, which will spare you a lot of frustration trying to untangle impossibly well-wrapped leashes around a sharp mast and foil. Once your leashes are clear, you can put yourself on the upwind side of the board with the wing downwind of it and jump up. Being on the upwind side, you'll jump on the board already with your back to the wind and avoid awkward rotations once you're up. But the most important reason for why you should always be on the upwind side is that if you jump on it from the downwind side, you'll make the board lean like this, exposing this side to the wind, and a strong gust will make the whole board flip and you risk getting the foil on your head or on your wing. So go upwind of the board and then jump up. Chest first, then raise your knees and make sure not to waste energy just to hop on the board. You need to save that for riding. Then you pick your preferred knee angle, and in knee angle importance, you'll find out about the consequences of each knee angle. Then you flip the wing. Obviously, we have the video on flipping the wing for that. Stabilize it. And with awareness of your ass, and there's a video on the ass importance, and also with awareness of your posture, leaning back from the shoulders, and again here we have the video called Leaning Back Importance, you are ready to start sailing and enjoy the amazing sensation of going with the wind. Coupling these body techniques with good wing control will allow you to go straight and keep the angle with the wind that you want. Now at first you will just do some experiments and feel all the new sensations, so have a little bit of a play with that and enjoy it. But as soon as you start sailing, you might not immediately feel the mechanism by which you control the board's direction. So if you want, you might stop for a moment and try this exercise. On your knees with the wing neutral and stable, and so you see I have one hand on the neutral handle and the other one on the leading edge. This is the stabilizing position we discussed also in the video on wing control. From here you can just rotate the wing to one side, keeping it flat, and you'll see how the board rotates in the opposite direction. Use this drill in both directions and even do entire circles in order to understand how the friction you're feeling against the wind as soon as you are rotating the wing is being transferred to the board to make it turn. Later, when you'll be with the wing in power, the mechanism is the same. Now, after this drill and your first attempts at sailing, you should begin to have in mind a goal of how you want to sail. And the goal is this. You should first aim to go crosswind, because this is the easiest course, both in terms of wing control and stability on the board. If you need a refresh on the courses, just check the video on basic sailing theory. So the goal has two parts. One, aim to keep your speed always up, but never so much that the board starts taking off. And two, try to go straight without constantly moving a little bit left and right, because that's a classic thing of beginners, which is normal and it's just due to lack of balance and wing control, but focusing on fine direction control is how you develop those skills. And by the way, here you're going to start noticing the drift. When this footage was taken, the wind was very light, about 7 knots, and so the drift was very minimal. Yet in 50 meters going straight crosswind, we can already see 6 meters of drift, and it took only 35 seconds. After 10 minutes, it will be already over 100 meters of drift, and this is in conditions of the least drift. When the wind is stronger, you'll easily be drifting between 3 to 7 times as much, so make sure you don't lose your sense of orientation and strictly follow the advice I gave in the spot safety video, and also check out how to walk back upwind, because walking is your only option to get back to where you started. Once you feel in control of a stable crosswind course, you can start training to go upwind. Going upwind requires you to put a little bit more attention on your back arm and your back leg, and you can learn in detail about it in the video Controlling Sailing Angle with the Wing. After practicing on your knees for a bit, you might start feeling some pain or discomfort in your knees, and you might want to stand up. So you're free to try to stand up, and I will tell you in a minute how to, but whether you can stand or not, the approach for learning to sail is the same. You just gotta work towards these two goals I just told you. First, a stable crosswind course, and then a stable upwind course. Only after you have achieved also a stable upwind course, you are in the best place to stand up. This is because keeping a fast and efficient upwind course requires the wing to be more powered up, and in turn this allows you to lean back more. The two forces opposing each other create balance, and this kind of balance is exactly what you need to be able to successfully ride standing up. And just to leave it very clear, when standing up, your balance is created thanks to the wing. You're never going to have good balance if you don't use the wing properly. I've gone into detail about this topic in Controlling Balance with the Wing. Anyways, if you want to stand up before full mastery of the upwind course, it's no problem. It's all valid practice. But as I said, the best moment to stand up is when you feel in control of your upwind course. Here, you'll be ready to initiate the standing up process by raising the front leg first. As you raise the front leg, it's time to place your front foot. But what is a good position for your feet? And I made a separate video to discuss feet placement for beginners, because here different teachers will tell you different things, and the truth is that everything can work. But for you to know, the main schools of thought are both feet offset, back foot centered, front offset, or both centered. And here, to illustrate the process of standing up, I'm going to pick both centered because it's the most versatile, we might say. But in your first session, you should explore all options and pick whatever feels better for balance in that moment. Anyways, after this video, you should check the video called Feet Placement for Beginners. So, once you raise your front foot, here's how you position it to learn with both feet centered style. It is forward enough to have a balanced stance between back and front foot. It is at 45 degrees with the nose of the board, which favors rotating your hips this direction for a crosswind course. And the toes are on the midline, ready to push down on the board from the center for when you're later going to take off. If you use straps, you'll see that they also make you orient your foot this way, but the strap might be set too forward or backward, and that's unfortunately something that you're going to have to set on the beach. Once your front foot is in place, you can ride in this position for a few seconds to make sure you're still in good control of everything. And once it feels good, you can fully stand up by raising your back leg. And make sure that as you do, you are keeping this tension we discussed earlier to give you balance, and also careful not to pull down on the wing, because otherwise you will lower it and touch the water. As you raise the back leg, it's also time to make sure you are placing the back foot exactly on the midline, and I advise you to take a look with your eyes to have visual confirmation, since you don't yet know how it should feel exactly. But anyways, now that you're standing, you're quickly gonna have to face the fact that balance is created thanks to the wing. Just as you've heard in the previous video in this series, the most foundational element is wing orientation. And then, as you can learn in controlling balance with the wing, modulating the angle of attack, you have to create some tension between the wing and your shoulders to transfer the power to your feet, which ultimately control the board. That's where feet placement becomes important, not really for balance, but for board control. And balance is more like a byproduct. And once you're standing, it's not just your feet placement that matters. Your entire body position needs to work as a unit with the wing. So, for both feet centered, you can take this position as a reference. You can see the hips are sitting on top of the back leg, which is slightly bent, while the front leg is straight. Ass in, shoulders out, front elbow fairly close to the body, back arm ready to power up, but mostly just in place with the hand at shoulder height to keep the good orientation of the wing. This is the most stable position for riding without flying, which, by the way, it is called taxiing. So, for your first session, and probably for several more, you want to train taxiing both on the knees and standing, both crosswind and upwind, until you can go perfectly straight and with the speed you want without ever falling or taking off accidentally. This could basically be considered stage 1 of learning wing foil, which is the foundation for unlocking stage 2, which is flying. Since it's your first session, you don't want to work on too many things right away, but when sailing, you have to go in both sides of navigation, and to change from one side to the other, we will eventually need to learn how to transition. Again, you can review basic sailing theory if you need a refresh, but for now, we are only going to do jibes, if anything at all. The best option when you're first making contact with the water is to just fall and from the water turn the board in the other direction and just restart from here. But in case you're feeling good on your knees and not falling very much, you might start attempting the taxiing jibe on your knees to later even do it when standing. So check out the video on the taxiing jibe if you want to be prepared for that too. In your first session, it's unlikely you'll be able to gain good control of crosswind and upwind courses, but I told you all this because I want you to know that that's the goal. So to recap, in your first session, you need to start by just taking care of all the little things for which I have a video, like dealing with leashes and setting yourself up properly on the board. Then you can start just by having a feel of the wing and the board without any goal in mind. Then you can try the turning exercise we discussed with the wing in neutral position, and after that you can start working on crosswind and upwind courses. That's it. I'm genuinely excited for everyone who's gonna have their first session after watching this video. I encourage you to share your experiences in the comment because the first rides are always quite challenging, so let's create some good community, let's keep pushing, and especially keep flying.